Now we're going to a different sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please be generous and grateful and not gracious, not grateful. Um, and Peter and I are about to go through an interview, and I am not in control of this, so I'm going to step back. Hi, Peter. My name is Bill. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Bill, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, excellent here in beautiful southern Florida.
Awesome. Great. Well, glad to have you on today. Love that we could match up. Now still a good time for us to talk.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Awesome. So just wanted to go over, and just so you know, I'm looking at my notes on my second screen. So don't be bothered as I'm looking at this. Want to make sure I get a few housekeeping opportunities here. So for starters, this opportunity is in Hollywood, Florida. I did see based off your resume that you are in Hollywood, Florida. Just want to make sure that that's still the case.
That is still the case.
Very good. And then this position will be a hybrid position, so expected to be 2 days on site. Want to make sure you're okay with 2 days on site.
I love that. I'm willing to do 5 days. 2 days on site is like a gift,
Thank
and
you.
I will give it my all, whether I'm in the office or outside of the office.
Absolutely. Yes, we do. I appreciate you saying that. At this time, it's only 2 days for now. It may change, but at this point, we are just looking for people to have the flexibility of having that face to face team collaboration within the office, as well as being able to stay home and not deal with the traffic so much. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you have that flexibility just in case. But at this point, it is hybrid. So that is great to hear. So I did want to understand. So as far as we are, this position that we're talking about today, I did want to understand what has you currently on the market right now.
Um, Multiple things. First, I um, I own my own company. Closed in 2021 due to COVID in 2020, and I took a position with a uh, CPG company, a shampoo and hair care company.
Mhm.
Uh, I was able to get everything they needed me to get done within a year. And within that year, I restructured their customer service department, raised their feedback ratings from a, a 74 to a 99%. I was able to get their response times down to less than 2 hours. When it was at 1.48 hours, I changed a lot of their manual processing to automated processing,
Mhm.
uh, changed their benefits to a PEO program, which not only lowered the cost of the benefits by $80,000 a year, but it also gave them in deeper insight into the hiring processes, to where applicants were in the application process, as well as kept all of the documentation online as opposed to paper. So after that year, I found that the company was top heavy, and I like to be someone that makes a difference. So once I recognize that I am just, rubber stamping something, it's time for me to seek something else. So I decided to start my own company called William Rochelle Consulting. I've been doing that for about a year and 5 months. And within that year and 5 months, I've had a 4 month project. So I recognize that that really isn't the avenue for me,
Mhm.
nor do I want to continue pursuing that. So when I looked at this opportunity and the legacy that you guys have created, uh, it just seems perfect. And customer service is my passion. I understand that it is a director position
Correct.
in customer service. That's where I start. I believe it's the heartbeat of the company, and it helps you decide which direction that you need to go as a company in order to meet your needs of your members. And so I understand that this is a community-based organization. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
I hope I,
Awesome. Well, I do
I hope I
appreciate you.
answered.
Go ahead.
I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, no, you did. You did great, and you also answered one of my questions because I want to understand. I saw your website, saw that you are an entrepreneur. Wanted to make sure that ideally we would want somebody in this opportunity who's able to 100% take on these responsibilities and doesn't want something outside to necessarily interfere. You can still do something outside of this as long as it wouldn't interfere. But since you're not looking to continue what you're doing now, then there wouldn't be any concerns about that getting in the way of this.
Absolutely. And if I can add to that, I've worked for a $1 billion company, and I've also worked for startups that have gone into $256 million. So I understand the time, the commitment, and the energy that it takes to run a business. With the demise of my own business in 2021, that not only was a drain on my it wasn't just a drain emotionally to have to let go of 50 people that you considered family, but it also, I didn't think that it was going to close. So I was investing my own dollars back into the business that I never was able to get back. So I am not interested at this phase in my life of going back into a startup environment. I am definitely into creating something new, working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week if I need to do that. I'm not saying I'm looking to kind of kick back and relax. What I'm saying is a company like yours that has been around for decades and has the backing and the community and the respect is where I want to land right now. Intentionally.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. So I did have some questions I had initially. So we'll roll through these and we'll take them as they come. Sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Okay. Awesome. Very good. So first off, starting off with one of the big things. So customer success strategy. So tell me about a time you implemented a customer success initiative that improved retention or satisfaction, and what metrics did you move and how?
That's a loaded question. So I've started off in the membership services area 30 years ago. And in each role, I have made considerable improvements on the operation. So I will work my way backwards, if that's okay. So in Celeb Luxury, within a year, I recognized, I can say it's on my resume. Celeb Luxury, within the first year, I realized that they were not focused on their customers. They were focused on their brand. I switched that around. I made sure that the brand was being something that was wanted by the customer. By doing that, I switched our hours of operation to meet the customers where they were at. I changed how we communicated with our customers, whether it be phone, text, live chat on social media, or an email, and had people that were available to do that 7 days a week, extending the hours, which again reduced the response time, which again improved their service scores. At IBG stores, where I eventually owned it, and I want to be clear about that. I started at IBG stores to revamp the customer service department. I recognized early on that the founders had a different direction they wanted to take the company, and I saw the goal that they were sitting on. So about 4 years in, I said, "Hey, why don't you go in your direction? Let's split the baby, and I'll buy the e-com side." And so I ended up purchasing it halfway through my tenure. And when I did that and had the flexibility to do exactly what I wanted, not only did we go to 100% customer satisfaction on Amazon, which is extremely hard to do. And it only stayed there for like a day or two because, one negative thing takes it from 100% to 99%. Sure. But we got there, and we got there multiple times. And we did that by, again, meeting the customer where they were at, which in my book means if we're doing a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business, then you have someone that works in the office for 6 hours and then works 2 hours at home from 10 to midnight. It's an 8-hour day, they get that little break at 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and then they're responding to emails for the final 2 hours. And then we come in at 6 in the morning so that we can go ahead and get those emails responded to. We can get questions to the manufacturers to find out why it's delayed. So when that person wakes up in the morning, they've gotten two things. First thing is, on a Friday night, they've already been told, we have your message. This is not a AI response, although at this point we could make that because AI has a more personal touch. Our distribution center is closed right now. They will open on Monday, and I'll be able to have a response to you by Monday at 10. And so our team would reach out to the customer and reach out to the distribution center simultaneously. The way that the company was originally set up, and stop me if I'm not, if you're not following up what I'm saying, but it was set up in silos. So you had your customer service department, then you had your supply chain and logistics department, then you had your what we called product development department, which was really how the product was listed in every site. And I broke down those silos and made them into one cohesive, cross-functional team. So instead of customer service sending something to supply chain and logistics, but they close at 4 o'clock, it didn't make any sense. So I made it so customer service could send something directly to the distribution center. So we kind of cut out that middleman and then folded the supply chain and logistics portion under the membership services department. Product development is a key role in an organization. One big problem with e-commerce, and remember, we're talking about 2012 to 2021. Product development we would sell couches, and we would show a beautiful couch for $100, and it was exquisite. And someone would get it, and it was a couch for a child. So I would change it, and I would say, hey, we need to make sure that we have a 5-year-old sitting on this couch so someone can understand that, no, this beautiful plush couch is not fit for 5 adults. It's for a kid's room. And so having customer service have that voice and changing it from them being the bottom of the structure of the company to the top, and having them dictate what's wrong and suggest how to fix it, improved everything about how our company operated. It saved us money because we weren't taking all these returns, because once something goes out and you sell it and it's not clear what you're getting, you got to take it back. And that's a loss. It's a loss in shipping there. It's a loss in shipping back. It's a loss in the customer, and it's a loss in bad feedback. So all of it is negative. So having the agents own the power of the purse, own the power of the customer, made it so that we actually lost money. And a lot of people would say, but what if your agents give money away? And I would say, what if we wait a week, and by that week comes, they've already sent something to the Better Business Bureau. They've written negative feedback on everything that they can find. How many people is that deterring from buying from us? So really, you need to think outside of the immediate and think about the long-term ripple effect. So that's how I changed IBG stores. At JDate and Christian Mingle, they were online dating sites, and we were written up in Forbes magazine as having the customer service department being the key differentiator for our entire company and our competitors. I'm sure you've heard of Match.com.
Yep, I have.
So they came in and they wanted to know, why did we have one of the most successful travel and events department? I created that out of my mind. I said, what are our customers asking for? And what they were asking for was a safe place to meet offline, because people were nervous about dating online and meeting someone online and getting abducted. And we were like, okay, well, we'll create parties in every major city, and we'll have it once a month, and then we'll create travel and events. So Match.com, they didn't come to me personally. One of their employees came to interview for a position I had open in that department. And the man said there, hey, they've been trying to figure out how you've been doing this so successfully. Our other competitor, eHarmony, I don't know if you've ever worked for a startup before, but the founders of Spartan Networks, which is J8 and Christian Mingle and Silver Singles and all that great stuff, they would come in and they would say, eHarmony just joined eGain, and why aren't we on there? And so I'd have to call in eGain and have them give me a pitch. And the guy from eGain, I said, hey, your product looks great, but if it's the same product that we're using with just a different color on it, then it's a waste of our time. So I need you to be honest with me. And he said, to be honest with you, I've worked really closely with eHarmony, and they're trying to catch up to what you've already created. And I've done all of that without a blueprint. I created the blueprint. I said, this is the direction that we need to go. And it's hard for me to say that to you, Peter, because I'm very team oriented. I lead a lot of times from behind. I'm that guy that my team will say, he didn't do anything, I did it all. No, you did it, I directed. But I am so humble in what I do that I make everyone feel as if their voice is being heard, and that their suggestions are being taken. And I let them know, not every suggestion that I make actually flies, but keep making them, and don't get discouraged if one gets shot down. It's not because it's not a good suggestion. It just may be that can't be on our priority list right now.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, as far as customer success strategy, you hit everything that I wanted to hear and more on the head. So that is perfect. So I did want to understand. So another big part of this position is the call center and team oversight. So how do you ensure that frontline staff remain motivated and meet KPIs in high volume environments?
It goes back to everything I said. They have a voice. They have a complete voice. And I was talking with, one of my best friends yesterday that said that they're a manager as well. And he and I both agreed that, we lead in a way that someone can say, I don't like your management style. One thing I said to him was, I agree with that, but not on the floor, right? Not in front of everyone out there. Come talk to me. Shut the door. And I don't want you cussing me out, but you can be as raw as you want. If you're feeling as if you're not being heard, or if I'm missing a mark as your manager, I'm willing to listen to that. And sometimes it is it's something that I didn't even recognize I was doing. And other times it's just a misperception or miscommunication. But either way, I listen. And if I do need to make a change, and understand that not every criticism needs to be acknowledged, it is like an opinion, and we all lead differently. But if it's something I do need to change, I will take it and I will figure out what can I do. But if you're leading 200 people, I can't change for 200 people. I have to really make sure that I'm doing what's best for the company, and listening and taking the suggestions and ensuring that the team have the right tool sets, the right education, the right knowledge about the job, that they are getting the marketing promotions before they hit the community. I mean, you don't know how many times I've seen that, where customer service comes to me and says, hey, we're running a 50% off deal. And I'm like, I don't know. You have to go over to marketing, because companies work in silos, right? So all this stuff is going out, but no one tells the team. So keeping them abreast of what needs to happen, taking their feedback on a project or a promotion that's going out prior to it going out, and advising the marketing team what customer service feels or says. And I go to bat for them. I go to bat for my team, and I go to bat for the department. And I will tell respectfully objectively, my boss, you're making a bad decision.
Mhm.
And it's up to them to listen or not.
Mhm.
And that's the part that I will say is hardest for me when
Mhm.
I know it's a wrong decision. Uh, but I'm not being heard,
Mhm.
but I have to let it go.
Sure.
And it's like watching someone drive into a wall and you're like, you have to stop. And they're like still driving at 80 miles an hour. And you're like, okay.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example of that if you want to hear it.
Sure.
So the company that I purchased, at one point, the founder said, we're going to give discounts that is equivalent to dollars to be used on the shop. And I said, you shouldn't do it without a minimum purchase and a way to validate the purchaser. And you should not do that until we all get back into the office. And he said, nope, I want these to be used as dollars. No minimum purchase, just whatever. He launched it on January 30th, and no one got back into the office until December 30th.
Mhm.
And the team did not get back into the office to fulfill the orders into January 2nd.
Mhm.
People created fictitious emails.
Mhm.
They received the discount dollars to buy stuff,
Mhm.
and then they bought things that were equivalent to the dollars that they had earned. So in 4 days, the company lost $300,000
Wow.
because if they had $100 in coupon dollars,
Mhm.
because I think it was, I don't remember, but it was like a daisy chain. For each person you refer, you get an extra $5.
Sure.
So they would buy a pencil or a pillow. And so we had to honor all of those things. And why did I say it should be a minimum? Because people were purchasing a pen. It was a free pen. Why not? It cost $9 to ship this pen.
Mhm.
Um, and there was no verification on it. So
Mhm.
I could make William Rochelle at Gmail, William.Rochelle at Gmail, William Rochelle 1, William Rochelle 2, William Rochelle 3. So I can do all of this stuff, which they did, accumulate those referral dollars, and then buy something and have it shipped to me. And what we ended up doing, just like a lot of companies, we ended up scrambling to figure out how do we recover from this? How do we recover from it? So I'll give you a couple of things why I said what I said.
Mhm.
The first thing is I've always been taught that whenever you do a deployment that could affect your revenue, you do it at 2:00 in the morning on a Tuesday. That's the lowest day for any company to receive sales. You don't do it on a Friday night when all your engineering team is gone for the weekend. You don't do it on a holiday weekend. You do it on a Tuesday night at 2 a.m., which gives your development team Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to make any corrections that need to be made. If you release something on a Friday night, then you have Friday night, Saturday, Sunday of possible revenue disruption. Whether the site goes down or a link goes down or you're selling things for the other reason why I said not to do it on January 30th is because all of our distribution centers would be closed.
Mhm.
So we didn't recognize the impact of what happened until it hit the distribution centers on Tuesday morning. So we saw great revenue and everyone was like, yay, look at us go. Bill was wrong, until we realized those were all free dollars.
All right, excellent. I appreciate that. Awesome. And so with our company, I've seen that you've worked across e-commerce and tech, so we can diversify ourselves into different industries at times. We expand over time. And so we want to understand, what do you do in order to learn a new industry?
Ha! It's part of the way that I intentionally directed my career. So every company I've worked there for about 6 years, and then I've gone into an emerging growth industry. So when I first started with online dating, it was new. People weren't doing it like they're doing it today. And when I say that I created the blueprint, I'm not trying to age myself, but there was a company called, oh my goodness, not Facebook, but it was prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of it, but they went under because they were getting a lot of children that were being men were luring them, and women, over state lines because they had no filter. They weren't managing it. With J-Date, Christian Mingle, and the other sites, we managed it so well that we prevented any opportunity for someone to kidnap, to abuse, to put anyone in compromising positions, because our value were our members. So we needed to look at every single profile to ensure that the profile was real, that it was accurate, best that we could at that time. And we needed to do it quickly. When you say, how do I get into new industries? Well, I started off creating the customer service team there, but then ended up creating the travel and events team. I knew nothing about travel and events. I knew nothing about throwing parties, but I threw the biggest parties for the Jewish community for 4 years. So big that at one point on Christmas Eve, it was broadcast by 3 local TV stations simultaneously at the same time. So we were at the House of Blues in Los Angeles, we were at Nikki Beach in Miami, and we were in New York City at I can't remember the name, Limelight, which is a church that was turned into a disco. At the same time, we had the largest travel program. So we rebranded a spot in Cancun called J-Date Cancun. And every Memorial Day weekend, we would fill up that property and people would plan their vacations around it. At the same time, I understood that technology was new. And there is a huge problem communicating the needs of the customer with the developer. So, don't know your background as far as developing is concerned, but engineers are very prideful. They're like artists. So when you come and say, hey, your website's not working, they're like, yeah, it does. And so what I did was I said, all right, we keep running into the same roadblock. So we're going to create a QA team. And so customer service will own, called membership services, would only speak to the quality assurance team. And they were senior customer service reps that we took off the phones and then made them into QA. Their main job was to replicate whatever the complaint was that membership services was providing. Once they replicated that, then they were able to be that bridge between customer service and engineering so that we can get things resolved quickly. What ended up occurring is that whenever customer service spoke, everyone would stop, drop, and roll. And they would make sure that things were operating effectively. Created a 24-hour customer service department out of necessity. You're going to say, why would you do that? We outgrew it. We outgrew the space. We didn't have any seats. So what do you do when you don't have any seats? You create shifts for people so that when Peter gets out of his seat, Bill sits down. So Peter works from 6 to 2:30. Bill works from 2:30 to 11. And then a couple of people work from 10 to 2. And we recognized by doing that, we actually made more money. So the revenue from a customer service call was 30% of the revenue that the company brought in at the time, because people were more accustomed, more comfortable paying over the phone than signing up for a 3-month membership. And when you spoke to a customer service agent, they would automatically suggest to you a 3-month membership over a 1-month membership. And the call was basic, Peter, if I told you right now that you're going to find the love of your life in 30 days, you'll say, okay, that doesn't sound right. But if I said, hey, Peter, the first month, you're going to get yourself out there. You're going to meet a couple of people. You're going to have to refine your profile a couple of times. You can call us anytime to help you with that. The second month, you'll start getting dates. And by the third month, you'll be operating in a way that you know what you want, what works for you, and you'll be able to go out and get more potential out of the site. And JDate had the highest rating of marriages, children, everything. And to this day, the Jewish mother or father will say, find yourself a nice Jewish girl, a nice Jewish guy on JDate. Because the community is really about making sure that history is alive.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, you're answering a lot of my questions for me, so I appreciate that. One thing my team did for sure want to understand is sales leadership. So as far as you directly leading a sales team, tell me what that's looked like in one of your opportunities.
It's every single one of them. So we'll go back to, and let me know, by the way, if this sounds rude. But we'll go back to what I just said about JDate. The customer service team was 30% of the revenue. And when I first started, there was no customer support team. Everything was done through email. So what I encouraged that team to do was every single call. I don't know why. I don't care why they called in. They can call to say, why is my picture not up yet? Why is it taking so long for my profile to get approved? Every call is an opportunity. And that opportunity should start with a 90-day promotion and then go from there. We went from selling a $19.99 a month membership to a $4,000 one-time trip vacation that did not include the flight. It was the same people that were selling a $19.99 membership that was selling a trip to the Ritz-Carlton in Jamaica for $4,000. How did I do it? I incentivized them. I gave them what I would want. And Peter, you're going to say, what would you want? And I would say, as a customer service rep making, $20 an hour, I would love to go to Jamaica. I would love to stay at the Ritz-Carlton. So if you were the highest seller of that vacation, you had to work. You still had to work, but you would fly with me to the Ritz-Carlton, and your work would be swimming with our members. Your work would be making sure that everyone, the person in the corner that looks like they're afraid to meet someone, that you're going over there and you're getting them on the dance floor, and then you're having them set up with someone else. Your work would be, before we actually got on the vacation, to print out all of the profiles for the people that are going on that vacation, pictures, age, what they're into, and try to figure out who else on that trip is going to be there to make sure that they connect. It's to make everyone feel like a star the moment they get off the plane. So if you've watched The Love Boat or Fantasy Island, that's for someone of a particular age. Maybe you haven't, but if you watch The White Lotus, the minute someone got off the plane on The White Lotus, the gentleman would say, that's this person, and they just lost their husband, and they're here because their mom just died. We would have that exact same experience. So we knew who Peter Muffler was before he got there. When you got there, we recognized you. We also knew 3 or 4 different people that we think that you might click with, male and female. And so we're selling an experience. So it doesn't mean we're selling you a date. We're putting you together with singles your age, right? So when I say male and female, it means you might want to go on a rock climbing expedition. So there's a group of guys that want to go on the rock climbing excursion, and maybe one girl, right? Or 2 girls. So we'll set you up with those guys because they've already said they want to do that. And then these people just want to go to the spa all day. And so it might be like 2 guys that want to go to the spa and 6 girls. So, we will make sure that the people that had um, like-minded visions for their vacation
Mhm.
were put together.
Sure.
And then the difficult part was we did service people from all ages. So, you would get someone there that was, 80 and, looking for a 20-year-old, and that wouldn't always work. But you would make sure that 80-year-old person felt like they were the only person in the room, and that they felt like they were in their 20s, and you just party with them yourself if that's what you had to do.
Mhm.
Everyone was a VIP. And so when you say, what do I do to change in different markets, I adapt.
Mhm.
And when I'm done with one piece of the puzzle, I create another one. And at JDate, not only did I create the travel and events department, but while I was there, I opened up an office in Herzliya in Israel. I trained their customer service department in Hebrew and in English. I don't speak Hebrew, so I trained them, and then I had a translator that would say what I meant in Hebrew, because they speak English, but sometimes certain words don't convey correctly. So Sharon would actually say, well, this is exactly what it means in Hebrew.
Mhm.
And then that department reported into me. So I would have meetings with them at 6 o'clock in the morning, uh, once a week.
Mhm.
And I chose the entire phone system for the company. I chose the entire call center system for the company. Those are two different things, by the way.
Mhm.
And I made sure that it was compatible in Israel. So Israel, that office would dial an extension and it would just dial into our office. So there was no difference in equipment and how we talk to our customers and the platform that we use between the two areas, except one was written in Hebrew and one was in English.
Mhm. Awesome. Perfect. And I did want to understand. So, a big part of customer success is being able to handle escalations. Sometimes things can come up, especially that are high stakes. You don't necessarily get the opportunity to reach out to your team for help if needed. So, I did want to understand. Just give me one example of a time when there was a high stakes issue that you yourself resolved.
I have two,
Just one.
just one. Okay. So this one's hard. And I have more like this because of the type of industry we're in. Uh, we tested the online messenger service on JDate that
Mhm.
Mike Jones's team created. Uh, Mike Jones eventually sold that company, and it became AOL Instant Messenger. Um, so the live feed was originally tested on JDate. And while I was having dinner, I got a phone call from one of my agents saying that someone shot himself in the head on the live feed.
Mm.
So we had to immediately get Mike Jones out of bed to disconnect the feed, because you can see the police walking. You can
Mm.
no longer see the person because
Mm.
we
Mhm.
flew back.
Wow.
But we had to get Mike Jones to disconnect the feed and um, make sure that we were able to get in contact with the family, offer our condolences, stay away as much as we could so that our name wasn't in the middle of it,
Mhm.
but be as present as we could as a company
Sure.
to offer our support. That's one. I can give you two or three more, but
Mhm.
I mean, the types of things that I've dealt with throughout my career aren't things. The easy things are, I want a refund. When I
Sure.
say I've dealt with some bad things, they're related to death or trauma or um, child pornography. I've had all of it. I've had to call the FBI to get involved with certain things,
Mm.
and at the same time, keep it super insulated so that it did not get out.
Sure.
So it was protecting the members, protecting the brand, protecting our legacy, not hiding anything, but doing it so quickly that it did not become a thing. So I was always ahead of it.
Sure. So with that, how long did it take for the fee to be cut?
30 minutes.
Mm.
I mean,
and so only Mike Jones was able to cut the feed.
he owned the company, so it wasn't our feed.
Okay.
So it was he. I don't remember what the name of his company was, but he owned the company, and I don't know if Mike cut the feed or if he had someone else cut the feed. I just know that we made the call to him.
Okay, gotcha. I was about to ask you if there was a fail safe afterwards for that. It's not just him, because 30 minutes can be a while.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of things that I would like for you to take away from this. The first thing is, we always had someone that was watching our systems. So even though I was okay, so I'll be honest, I had taken my entire customer service team to a bowling excursion. So we were bowling, and Hernan Castaneda, never forget, he said, I'll stay at home and I'll watch the feed, because we never ever shut down. This is the one time that we had shut down, but we didn't shut down fully because he was still there. And he called me. I'm at a bowling alley in Los Angeles. So imagine how loud a bowling alley is. And I'm like, someone did what? And he's like, this isn't a joke. It's not he just twisted the gun and says, do you guys dare me to play Russian roulette? And then bang, we gave Hernan the counseling he needed, because he watched it and then needed to kind of guide the entire post. But yeah, I had to, daisy chain it to get to Mike, because he wasn't at his desk. So I had to call a cell, and he's with his family. So, I don't know who cut the feed, but I know that it was me to Mike that got the feed cut.
Okay, got it. Yeah, as long as you're doing collaboration, that's the main thing. You'll be directing people, so you have to collaborate with people. So you did the collaboration that you could in order to get the job done. So
yeah, absolutely. I've had bodies brought back from Cancun, and then, as I said, child pornography, where we had to kind of get the FBI involved and have them do a daisy chain to figure out it hit this server and this server and this server and this server until it got to us. But the beauty of that, there is no beauty in child pornography, but the beauty of it, and this is with GodTube in Plano, is that the person that uploaded the video, because of the back end administrative process that I had put into place without a blueprint, we saw the video internally. It never went to the public.
Okay.
Never went to the public. So these are things that I do to ensure the integrity of our brand, the integrity of our product, and that our members can sit their child in front of a platform called GodTube, which is a Christian-based social media Christian-based video sharing social media platform, and feel comfortable that they're not going to see pornography or, I can tell you more offline.
Sure.
But it's too much to tell in a public forum.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate all that, and appreciate that you do what you need to do to get the job done. So that's the important thing there. So one thing I did want to understand from you, it is just one of our preferred qualifications, but just because our company operates globally, we would ideally like to have someone come on the team that's bilingual in either or Portuguese, Mandarin, or Spanish. Do you have any bilingual abilities with either Spanish, Portuguese, or Mandarin?
So I will say this, Peter, the answer to that is I can get a response to you in Mandarin, Portuguese,
Hmm.
or in Spanish.
Hmm.
I am not fluent. I don't speak it,
Okay.
but I have the ability to
Sure.
take any comment that I need, put it into a translator, and
Hmm.
spit it out in the end language that I need it to be spoken to
Hmm.
or written in, maintaining the tone, understanding the exceptions with the English language,
Hmm.
and to be sent out in a way that the person will understand it. I have trained people in multiple countries directly in English, and then had a translator
Hmm.
that actually assisted me in the back room.
Hmm.
Uh, and right now, with the introduction of AI, there are listening devices that you can put in your ear that will tell
Hmm.
you, just like they use at the UN, that
Sure.
will tell you exactly what the person is saying, and
Hmm.
you can communicate back in English, and that will translate back to them in their in language. So it is something I respect the
Hmm.
question 100%, but I think the answer that I have for you is I find solutions for everything.
No.
So that would not be an obstacle, it'd be an opportunity. And it would also be an opportunity for us together to make sure that we have tools that we
Hmm.
would we would use in one place and would be translatable all over. I write articles from time to time, and I've actually taken those articles and had them redone in Mandarin and in Japanese and in Portuguese, if that is the audience that I want to speak to. And I get responses, big responses, uh, to that same article that was originally written in English.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, you might not necessarily have what we want, but you have a solution that we can use in order to get past that. And like you said, there are tools that you can buy now in order to get around
Some
whether.
are free. Some are
Yep.
free. Yeah, and I'm going to respectfully push back. I do have everything that you want. Um, it may not be laid out in the same language that you
Mhm.
used, but if you're asking me, can I communicate in multiple language? The answer would be yes.
Mhm.
Am I fluent? No.
Mhm. Sure, that is perfectly fair. Well, those are all the basic questions I did want to ask you. Do you have any questions for me at all?
uh, Absolutely. Well, the first question is, I am a forever learner.
Mhm.
So, based on you called me in for a reason.
Mhm.
I submitted my resume. So based upon the resume and our conversation, you know, did I meet your expectations on this call?
You did. You did meet pretty much, and more or less the questions were, if anything, somewhat slight hesitations from our team. You answered them really well. Ultimately, you pretty much hit everything that any types of concerns we had beforehand are pretty much nullified by what you've talked about today. So you did everything extremely well.
Extremely well.
Yeah, extremely well. Better than we expected, especially from our last one when we talked about the preferred qualifications. You just didn't stick with. No, I don't know. I can figure out solutions in order to make myself better in what I'm going to do. So I mean, doing something like that will exceed the expectations, in that if something does come up that we need to have fixed, you can figure something out, even though you may not be exactly where you want to be in order to solve that problem initially.
Okay. The other question I have for you is, I've actually been following your company for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that this position has been listed at least twice in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can you shed some color on that, some light on why that is? Have the
Sure.
people
So,
been promoted,
sure.
or
Hmm. Sure. So a couple of the times, the person that we uh, was given an offer, they were unfortunately given an offer by another company that appealed to them more at the time. And then another time, we were potentially dealing with an internal problem where the director was telling us that they were going to leave. And so we had to get a post out there in order to meet those expectations of, okay, if they leave, we need someone who's going to come in here. Ultimately, they decided not to, but then now it's actually the case of they are officially leaving. So this is where the position has been, like you said, reposted multiple times, but now it's pretty much clear cut that we need to have someone new step in.
And then my final question, because I think if we decide to move on to phase 2, then I'll have a whole host of other questions, right? But my final question is in regards to, I know the company has a board.
Mm-hmm.
I am very used to working with publicly traded companies. I know this is a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
How much board oversight or communication will I have in this role, if any? Because I know it's a director position.
Mm-hmm.
So normally it's a C-level people that actually report directly into the board. What are your expectations?
Sure.
Regarding that?
The responses that they've given me on that is that you will have full transparency. You know, as a nonprofit, we want to do good. The best way we know how to do good is to be as transparent as we possibly can. So in turn, you have the ability to have access to everyone you need to in order to get the job done, including the board.
Okay. And then actually one last question.
Mm-hmm.
I know as a nonprofit, you keep your CEOs on board for approximately, and I could be wrong about this. I know the position is not a lifelong position. I know it is a termed position. So it's either a year or 18 months. I forget which it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they leave the post and then they become chairman. And then after chairman, then I think that they're replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Does this change in the CEO affect the management team, or does the management team, once you're hired, is as long as you're doing a great job, do you stay, or does each CEO bring in their own people, or are you not at leisure to tell that?
No, again, a big thing for us is transparency here. So the way it works is that regardless whether it's the new management team sometimes or the new CEO, it can be, it has been 50-50 ultimately. We've had 3 different CEOs, and we've seen that about the first one, whenever he came in, he brought a new management team. Second one, they didn't, but then this third one brought on their new team as well. So
Okay.
it's been relatively 50-50.
Okay. All right. And I think that really is it for me for now.
Okay.
I would love to, meet soon or meet again for phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
I am extremely interested in the position, not because of a financial need, but because I like the core values that the company actually operates under, and the fact that you offer continued education for the people that work with you. And as we go further and further into AI, I believe that we're going to have to shift the learning process for the team, because I think more of those jobs will be handled by machines, but we're going to need people that can support those machines.
Absolutely. Great. Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time today. So how it's going to work from here is that I'm going to send our interview notes directly off to my manager here. They'll review everything. Expectation is that the next and final round will be with our COO, and then we'll get that likely scheduled for an in-person next week, just so I can have the availability ready. What's your availability for next week?
Well, I have a million things to do, Peter, but because I'm so interested in this position, I can shuffle things around to accommodate your needs. So right now, my needs are secondary to the business. So
Okay.
whenever you need me, just let me know. I'll make it happen.
All right, very good. So that's everything I needed on my end. So again, I'll send all this information over. Expectation from me is you'll hear back from me, yes or no, by this Friday. If I don't say anything by Friday, please bug me until I say something back to you. But other than that, that is it. I greatly appreciate your time today.
So now I'm speaking to Peter.
Okay.
All right. So I do have a couple of questions, not
Sure.
about the company, but just about everything and how it went.
Mhm.
Number one, which resume did you like better? Did you look at both of them?
Yeah, I mean, so me personally, I did like the February one better just because it was a little less clumped of information.
Okay.
Um, I guess I had your May one pulled up, and this is just very nitpicky
Yeah,
with
yeah.
with your May one, but whenever I uploaded on my end, I mean, some people, I mean, again, it's more or less, I don't even know if it's 50-50 or not, but you never know how nitpicky some people will be with this stuff. So whenever you download it, there's a fourth blank page that just comes up.
Okay.
So
So yes.
yeah.
So I took it out, the
Mhm.
fourth blank page. So
Mhm.
when I saved it as a PDF, I might have sent you the one where I hadn't,
Mhm.
obviously. But so quick question. So when you opened it up,
Mhm.
it was 4 pages.
Right.
All right. So there's one that I saved where it says save from 1 to 3 instead of 1 to 4. I
Mhm.
actually did that,
Mhm.
but I could have sent you an error, which I need to fix to make sure that I'm not sending that one out regularly.
Mhm.
Um, as far as the content, so I love the February one.
Mhm.
That one was my favorite, and then everyone else said, "Well, no, I don't like it," so I changed it. Well, it's May right now, so I changed it last month
Mhm.
because people always go, "Well, how's it working for you?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't. It's
Sure.
not." So let's fix it. So
Mhm.
without the fourth page, you still like the February one better, or
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm just a fan of the format a little bit more, just because it's a little
okay,
bit easier on the eyes, where I don't have to like really look at it because your May one, it just has there's not much space in between the bullet points, so I really have to pay attention. But
I like
granted,
I like the
yeah,
February one better myself.
yeah,
So
but granted, whenever recruiters are looking at this stuff, they normally um, I mean, unless they're not using Boolean strings and just looking straight into resumes, they'll see the highlighted words that they want to anyway. So, but I mean, in terms of just initial visibility, I do like the February one better just because there's a little bit more spacing in between the words.
okay. Um, I actually had a few hiccups. I don't know if you noticed when we were talking.
Mhm.
There was a little bit of silence where I was like, "Oh shit! Like, what do I say?"
Yeah.
But I felt like I was able to kind of breathe. Like
Right.
I had the
Mhm.
hiccup, deer in the headlights type of
Mhm.
moment, but it was only for
Sure.
like 2 or 3 seconds,
Yeah.
and then I was able to roll. Um,
Mhm.
I can't hear myself. Well, I can hear myself. I when I'm speaking to you, I'm unable to decipher what I'm saying. So once I start talking, and I think I asked this a couple of times, did I answer your question?
Right.
Because my my answers often come with a story behind it.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's distracting for the person on the other end or if it adds more flavor.
Hmm.
Because you asked, like, what are my biggest challenges from a customer service department or that I had to overcome?
Hmm.
You know, I could easily say, I mean, well, actually, I said one of them in advance. We gave $250,000 or $300,000 worth of product out for free.
Hmm.
The second one was death, and that happened twice. And the third one was so I can grab a multitude of things to grab onto.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think resonates the most. So the $300,000, the fact that someone literally killed themselves on the site, the fact that I had someone come back that died on a trip and I had to have their body flown back, the child pornography that we had to stop in the middle of the night, these are all major things that require someone that is not only skilled but comfortable enough under pressure to get it resolved instead of freaking out.
Right.
So I felt any of those stories could be used, but they're not directly in line with the position.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you do want to come up with examples that are as directly related to what you're being asked as possible. Granted, like if you don't have necessarily the same industry experience as the job that you're asking for, you can only do so much. But ideally, you do just want to try to find something that's as closely relatable to what you're applying to as possible.
Okay, so someone cut off their finger. That would be a better one. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, being that you didn't want me to say exactly, because that was one. I mean, like whenever you told me not to talk about, I was like, dang it, what did I talk about? But yeah, something like that for sure. I mean, doing
this video. Bye. Go ahead. I'm sorry, that was my cousin. I have a show called Cousin Talk, and so we're done with the formal process, and now we're like friends. We're just talking. So what did you say?
So yeah, I mean, whenever we were, you told me not to exactly say the exact thing, but like whenever I was thinking about, but yeah, like someone losing an appendage, could be very well relatable, because you'll be, I mean, at least as far as what you sent me for the job you're doing, you could be interacting with stuff that could be where people get hurt. For sure.
Right. Okay. All right. So you felt I did okay?
Yeah. I thought you did good overall. I mean, you answered questions, you give examples. That's the other thing too, is that whenever I would be interviewing people, I would ask them a question. The best way to do it is to ask open questions, so where the answer can't just be a yes or a no.
Yeah.
You have to tell me something, and you did that really well, that no matter any of the questions I had, you had more than enough to talk about to answer it fully.
Is that a good or bad thing?
It's a good thing. I will say that, and this just depends on who, because are you going to be interviewing with another recruiter or hiring manager?
So I believe what's happening on Friday is the head of recruiting, and then it goes to the CEO and the chief product officer. So that's the second. So the first one is Zoom, which is a couple of days, and then it goes to the C-suite.
Okay, gotcha. Because I mean, that's the thing, is that you don't want to, because like that would be my thing, is that I need to understand how many steps are on the process, so that depending on the questions I do want to ask, I don't want to waste them all up on one person. Or if then there was also the understanding of, does this head of recruitment know everything, more or less anything of what you're going to want to know, because depending on the bandwidth that they have, or any recruiter you talk to, they're not going to know nearly as much about what you're doing as you do.
Right.
Like my last recruiting job, I was recruiting for at least 3 different jobs a day, and they changed every day. And I mean, trying to remember, I sometimes I could barely remember what I recruited for a couple days ago, just because I have to learn a whole new skill set, and some things were more in depth than others. But I guess just for, I mean, again, you can like, another thing is like being able to read people. So if you feel like you're ever, kind of one of my thought processes too, is that if you think that you might be too long-winded, you probably are, and then
Right.
you might just want to cut back a little bit. But I mean, no, I thought that overall you did good. You didn't go too far down any rabbit holes or anything like that. And you answered the questions, you gave examples, you gave numbers too. People like numbers, especially because customer success huge part of that is sales.
Yeah.
So you need to know your numbers. And yeah, also in general too, on your resume, you put plenty of numbers in there. So that's great. People love to see results, numbers. So good
All
stuff.
right. Man, I really, really appreciate this relationship. I think you're great. I wish you the best for tomorrow. What is the best way to close out an interview? Because I always want to go. So, do you want to set up like phase two now? I
Hmm.
got the job. I think a lot of us want to do that,
Yeah.
and it's really difficult when you hang up because you don't know how you did. So, what's the best way to hang up? And then for anyone out there, what's the best way to get your mind out of what just happened?
Hmm. Sure. I mean, so I would say for sure, whenever you're ending a conversation with the recruiter, hopefully they say it. And if they don't, make sure you understand what the overall steps and timeline are. That way, so that if the recruiter doesn't follow through with what they say they're going to do, yeah, it's a green light for you to reach out to them and say, "Hey, I hope you're having a great day. You said that you were going to get back to me by this date, and I haven't heard anything back. Wanted to check in, make sure that I'm still a part of the process, and then also with that, afterwards, doing it's very because I mean, I remember the candidates because there were very few of them that actually sent a thank you note to me afterwards about thank you for the interview. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to hearing back by X.
So you
So
actually read those.
yeah, I actually do because it's a recruitment. With the volume of people I've interacted with, it is you're not thanked like at least me personally, 90% of the time, I would say I wasn't thanked for a lot of interviews, a lot of offers I gave out to people. So
Okay.
that little thank you, and it goes a long way. You don't have to make it long winded. You can just make it, a few lines. Hey, so and so, thank you for meeting with me today. Really liked how you talked about XYZ. I can really relate to XYZ because of XYZ. And look forward to hearing back from you by such and such date that you mentioned. Um, you know, until we talk again. Thank you.
So I always assume that if they haven't, I always assume, which is bad. People don't do that. That if they like you as a candidate,
Hmm.
they normally call you back almost right away. Like any job I've gotten
Hmm.
where I've had an in-person interview, I've normally been in the car where they've called me and said, "We'd like to set up, number two."
Hmm. For sure.
Um, if it's gone a week, normally it's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Are you okay? So you agree with that?
Well,
Like people,
I would say for sure that that's why I would urge people to get understanding of when are you going to hear feedback, because sometimes no, it's like me whenever I was working with Goldman Sachs and they were able to either depending on the position they were either able to extend an offer or get a second interview set up very quickly with within the same day, within a few hours of their whatever interview they were at. But then other times it would legitimately like whenever I recruited for Boeing, they took, some hiring managers. I had interviews with um, candidates, and then I would check in with them every other day to make sure that hey, are we gonna extend offers? Please let me know. And sometimes that process took up to 2 weeks. So I mean, it just varies. That's why I would implore people, if you ever whenever you get into an interview, is make sure you get that understanding of overall timeline, and when you expect to hear back on the next step.
sounds good. Peter, thank you so much for being my friend.
Sure. You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Any closing remarks? That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I think you'll do great. I mean, pretty much the way I set this up was that I pretty much, scanned your resume myself, put it into chat, the job description, put your LinkedIn profile in there, plugged it in. These are the questions you came out. So if you want to relatively do the same thing, because sometimes it spits out different things. Like if you go between ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, they'll spit out different things. So wouldn't hurt to try it out yourself just to see what questions they spit out. Just so you might be asked the exact same thing from the head of recruiting.
Did you make up the fact about the 3 CEOs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh, how did he know that? 50%. That was pretty good off the cuff. All right. My chicken is burning.
Don't save it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.